One of the terms that keeps coming up with each new update of Civ 7 is rebalancing. Now, the object of rebalancing is to make sure that the game is fair and there are no clear loopholes where players can take advantage of an unexpected combination of game elements to snowball their way to victory. Now, the concern over snowballing is that while it's exciting when it first happens, that thrill of discovery, if you keep finding ways to overwhelm the AI and get easy wins, you will lose interest in the game more quickly. Not something that any developer or game company wants to have happen. Now, this kind of fiddling with the numbers that rebalancing does seems inevitable when then there are so many game factors that can affect other game factors. And we all know what happens when snowballs grow up to be a snowman army, or maybe that was just a nightmare I had. What's funny is that every time I hear rebalancing, I think of car tires being rotated. But a more accurate comparison is to rebalance one's stock portfolio. There, the object is to sell off stocks that have been unexpectedly successful, of all things, and replace them with underperforming stocks, and thereby restore the balance and diminish the risks in the overall portfolio. If you want me to go into more detail on that, I really can't. That's the extent of my knowledge right there. So when I think of this, I actually recall Kurt Vonnegut Jr.'s short story, something literary I know a little more about, his story Harrison Bergeron, about a society where everyone is made equal to everyone else. Intelligent people have horns interrupt their thoughts, so, they can't think too much. Strong people have weights attached to them, so they can't do too much. You get the idea. The movie version of the story, by the way, is linked down below in the description if you're interested. It's about an hour and a half, something like that. And there are times when I want to say to the devs of this game that maybe it's okay if a particular Civ is a little stronger than the others, depending on the circumstances. So why do this if a lot of players don't mind the lack of perfect balance? And I have to say, there are many players who are perfectly in favor of rebalancing. They like it that everything is made more or less equal. Well, it might have something to do with the desire to encourage more online play in the game. In online play, everyone has to start on an equal footing. Anyway, all of this is why we're going to take a closer look at the Abbasids, who most onlookers agree were nerfed by the 1.2.5 update. So let's run through the changes to their build quickly. We had a little bit of a hint as to what was coming with the 1.2.4 update, where the Abbasid Wonder, the House of Wisdom, underwent, one significant change. It used to be able to house or receive 3 relics when you built it. Well, now it only receives 1. And it can store 3, but it only gets 1 at the outset. That 3 was making it very desirable. On the one hand, the good news is that while it's a significant nerf to the House of Wisdom itself, to all players, as far as the Abbasid are concerned and their science victory, it's not really that bad. Now, if you're playing the Abbasid and you're going for multiple legacy paths, then yes, this particular path with the relics is hurt, but it doesn't hurt your science victory as such. So, a nerf, but not really an Abbasid-specific nerf, if you get the idea. As for their civics, though, in the 1.2.5 update, we'll just take a look here. You can see that their Round City unique civic now has plus 20% production towards constructing buildings in cities with at least 5 specialists. Now before, all you'd needed to get the plus 50% production, notice not plus 20, towards constructing buildings in cities, was at least 8 urban population. Well, that's nothing. You can do that, with your hands tied behind your back. Getting the 5 specialists, that's a lot harder. You're not going to get those in that many cities. So there's a big limitation right there. The Algebra Unique Civic with plus 10% science in cities with at least 5 specialists had been plus 15% science in cities with at least 8 urban population. Well, again, it was an easy path if you wanted to get that bonus, but now you need the 5 specialists in each city where you want that bonus. The big thing this does is it delays the bonus, because it's going to take you a lot longer to get those specialists than to get those 8 urban population. So that's the big difference right there. And the bonuses for those 2 civics are now smaller. The first bonus, the round city bonus, is significantly smaller. The other bonus, it's only like 5% difference. But still, you have, it's a smaller window of opportunity to get smaller bonuses. So a significant nerf, really, when you look at it. Then you have the compendious book tradition with plus 2 science and plus 2 happiness in towns. It had been plus 4 science in towns. So there you see the science itself being directly impacted by a nerf. I think it's a smaller nerf, but a nerf nonetheless. Then you have the sales and trade tradition, plus 1 gold and science for each resource assigned to cities with at least, you've heard it before, 5 specialists. Previously, it had been plus 3 gold and plus 3 science for each resource assigned to cities with at least 8 urban population. So you're having the amounts diminished from plus 3 gold in science to plus 1 gold in science. And you're also having the opportunity to get those bonuses diminished, that window shrinking. Because, like I said, it's a lot harder to get the specialists up to 5 than it is to get the urban population up to 8. So there are significant nerfs there. But how serious a nerf is this overall? And I'm sorry to keep saying the word nerf. I really like the word nerf, but I know it gets on people's nerves. When Hawaii was nerfed months ago, the Civ never really recovered and is considered a seashell of what it once was. The Maya received a nerf as well, but are still considered a solid Civ, but maybe not the one you had to have above all others in antiquity, which it certainly was for a while. So where does the Abbasid nerf fall on the, what I'm calling the Hawaii-Maya continuum? We'll do a quick look-see at a game I had running before the nerf happened, actually. I was playing with the Maya in antiquity with Benjamin Franklin. And when this happened, I thought, oh well, I was going to go for the Abbasids anyway, but maybe we'll see how disappointing they are. And so we'll take a look at some of the numbers and see if we notice any significant differences. I'm not going to take you through the whole playthrough. It doesn't give us anything remarkable, but I will show you some of the highlights and some of the key numbers in play. Now, I started in antiquity with Maya, like I said, because their science is still reasonable. And I went with Benjamin Franklin for his sciencey ways, alongside a healthy dose of diplomacy. I was also looking to make some alliances, something I haven't done much of with influence. I've mainly focused on getting the independent powers on board, and less so with working with my neighbors. I've decided maybe I need to do that more. And so that was what was going on here as well on the side. I used the glass harmonica memento, which gives science and happiness a 10% boost for both members in an alliance. Again, not an Abbasid specific memento, but it was Benjamin Franklin friendly, so that's why I had it. And the golden seal stone with its +1 influence per age on science buildings, and there's an Abbasid connection there. So nothing too overwhelmingly powerful. Here you can see the situation. Although they did have Benjamin Franklin on their side and his production and science bonuses. Things aren't going too bad. Nothing that you wouldn't expect in a normal science game. Is okay. So let's take a look at some of these numbers. My culture is a bit down. I have more influence than anybody and more settlements. And if you look at the bottom two numbers, the population and the production, I'm doing okay. The only person who is a real threat and a significant threat is Napoleon at this point. Now, this is the first continent, so in the age of exploration, I'll be meeting some more leaders. But at this point, Napoleon is the real threat, and the game is pretty close, actually. So I'm kind of hoping at this point that the Abbasids will give me a bit of a boost, at least in terms of science and maybe some of the other numbers. That's the dream, and we'll see how that worked out. By the end of the Age of Antiquity, I'd somehow managed to pull off the science and economic victories. And I have to remind you, this is all on sovereign difficulty. It's the highest I can still manage. So, not too bad, and really nicely set up for the Abbasid. If they're doing okay, then I don't think I should lose ground. I should at least maintain the type of victory that I'm working on right now, which is the science victory overall, ultimately in the end. And not that we're keeping score, but you know, if we were keeping score, there you go, that's the score. Now, I'm going to skip over all the stuff where, you know, I have a couple of wars with Friedrich, I forget which one, and yeah, Tecumseh. Tecumseh turns out to be my main competitor. Napoleon kind of falls by the wayside, and I have to, you know, Tecumseh as a production powerhouse, etc., etc. All of this stuff would be interesting in a normal playthrough, but I want to focus more on the actual numbers in terms of Abbasid's output and ability to turn out specialists. So let's take a closer look at that. Okay, here you can see my capital, Baghdad. It has 4 specialists down. I'm about to put a 5th one down there. So finally get the 5 specialists, but we're at about turn 64. And this is my capital. So, and you know, the science victory is coming along, as you can see here. But I'm just giving you this one example to give you an idea of how late in the game this bonus kicks in once you have the 5 specialists, and that's in my main city. So really, the bonuses are just going to happen for that city right now. How long is it going to take for me to get up to the 5 specialists in other cities? I will probably get there with maybe 1, maybe 2. But the point is that, yeah, this takes a long time, and I think it does change how you come at the game. Now, I did get the science victory eventually, and it was my first victory condition that I fulfilled for this age. So that hasn't changed. The Abbasids are still the kings of science. The Ming give them a run, but the Abbasids, I think, are still number 1. Yeah, actually, I lied. This is the end of exploration, and I did only get the science victory. That was the only one. I was concentrating very hard on that, and well, that's all I ended up with. And for those of you who are keeping score, and you know I'm not, I did sort of hang on against Tecumseh by a couple of points there. We'll see how it turns out in the modern era. You know, maybe I'll let you know. I'm sure it's going to be a disaster. Anyway, look, I'm a Libra, so I can appreciate anyone who has a thing about balancing. I get that, I really do. The truth is that even though the Civ you're playing is the most important element of your game, there are just more bonuses and buffs that come with your Civ than with anything else. The leader abilities and the mementos can help mitigate some problems or some nerfing. Overall, it's hard to say to what extent the new limitations on the Abbasids have hurt the Civ in the end. Somewhere between Hawaii and the Maya is where I put them. Maybe closer to the Maya, because I found them very playable. The science is still doing its thing. The Civ, though, definitely doesn't encourage snowballing it like it used to. So, look, there are no startling revelations in this video, but maybe you might have a little less excitement about playing the Abbasids. There's nothing wrong with that. Unless, you mean to unlock the Mughals so you can buy your way to a cultural wonder victory. Oops, I've said too much. Don't tell anyone. It's funny how for every fence that goes up, a shortcut is born. Anyway, this has been Civilized Raccoon. If you liked what you've seen or you heard, please drop a like or a subscribe down below, and I'll see you next time.